I'm here today with Dean Cameron from Top Drawer Media. Everybody knows Dean from Northwest Aerospace News. I think the exciting thing you've been doing lately is helping build a pipeline of interest towards aerospace with Let's Go Aerospace magazine. So, Dean, everybody knows maybe what you do, but I wanted to get more into like your background, your thought behind all of this, and where it's at, where it's going.
I appreciate that, Kirk. I appreciate being able to visit with you today. This is wonderful. Camps is doing some amazing things, and sounds like you guys are growing leaps and bounds as well. So the
Yeah.
aerospace industry it's on a growth and recovery curve. Let's make sure that there's no international world events that slow us down after
Yeah.
the last few years. But so my background has been in manufacturing. I was hands-on manufacturing for almost 30 years. And one of the things, national sales manager for a large manufacturing company, providing commercial aircraft interiors, there was some holes in how we were to get the word out about our company and what we did, because we were unique. We had capabilities beyond what our competition had. And so how do you get the word out? You can go to big trade shows, or you can fly across the country and buy steak dinners and so forth. But the industry trade magazines really focused on high-level news. And so we would have been lost in a sea of big companies in some very expensive advertising campaigns. And so that was the genesis for Northwest Aerospace News Magazine. I wanted to create a product that spoke to the people that manufacture the goods that actually go on the aircraft, and then the companies that support them. And as this is our 7th year in production of Northwest Aerospace News Magazine, we are fortunate enough that the model has seemed to have taken off. We are distributed to a little over 11,000 subscribers worldwide.
Wow.
We have approximately 6,000 print subscribers in the continental United States, and then the rest are digital subscribers worldwide. So we've covered literally every country. I think there's 3 countries in Central Africa that don't have subscribers to Northwest Aerospace News. And again, we focus on the manufacturer. We want to give them a voice. So our business model has really been, how do we introduce company A to company B and say, you guys should really do business together? Then that led to the evolution of aerospace vendors, which you say people know me, people know Steve Kidd. And
Yes.
Steve,
Well, Steve.
Steve launched Aerospace Vendors. And so we took the reins here a couple of years ago, but we really launched Aerospace Vendors full bore about a year ago, rebuilt the website, and then created a place where a company can put all of their important information on a page they control, user password control. So their content, their information, their description, all of their links to social media, their website, photos, videos, documents, the whole 9 yards on a page that they can take control of and update as needed. Our next evolution, a little over a year, almost 2 years ago now, at the end of the I-90 conference in Coeur d'Alene, a number of the member-based organizations met after the event, and we got into the conversation about workforce. And there was a lot of struggle. You've got 100 companies fighting for the same 10 people. And so how do, people are getting new business like we just discussed. The industry's taken off quite figuratively. And so a lot of people have a book of work, but they don't have the workforce to support
The
it.
problem.
That's not something that's just an easy fix. And it's not something that it needs to have a long-term approach. And so the first thing I brought up, as I said, Northwest Aerospace News, we're not hiring machinists, but we write about the machine shops, we write about the manufacturing facilities. I said, there's no reason why we can't start distributing this free industry trade magazine to high school and college students who might be wondering what they're going to do when they graduate. And so we've done that. We have a number of students that are subscribing to Northwest Aerospace News and reading about the companies that do the manufacturing. But then the conversation turned to, we've got to start reaching them earlier. And so I said, when I was a kid, I used to get a magazine called Highlights. And I always looked forward to it. And it was fun. It had puzzles. It was interesting. There were some quick facts that you didn't know. And I said, what if we create aerospace industry magazine that kind of models that is reaching out to that middle school age student and giving them something to be curious about, to inspire them to do research. And of course, here's the magazine, and in it we have posters, so kids can put posters up on their wall and keep the aerospace industry in full view. And we were very fortunate that, again, that model seems to be, it's needed. And if we're going to build the workforce for the next 20 years, we have to start with that age group and really get them inspired. And so last year, we distributed a little over 15,000 magazines to young kids across the country. And we're excited this year to try and grow that subscription base. And we have some wonderful articles that we're providing. Boeing supports the magazine with Boeing's Future You group, as well as their Core Plus organization. And so we always look for good, interesting content that speaks to a middle school student. So for all of the viewers, we'd love your ideas.
That's wonderful. In fact, if they wanted to offer an idea, how would they do that? How would they submit an idea to you?
You just send me an email to dean@topdrawermedia.com, and I'd love to have the conversation.
Wonderful.
Now, we also solicit support. So if you've got a school in your neighborhood, or we have contacts with schools across the country, and we do not sell advertising in that magazine. You can't. If you're going to put it into a school, you're reaching out to middle school kids. And so and it's not something that we're looking to
Yeah.
build a super business on, but it help cover costs. We look for supporters to help us distribute the magazines to kids. We do have a program where, with enough magazines purchased, they can actually have control of the cover. So the cover of the magazine can be from XYZ company, and they can distribute to kids, so that there's that introduction to that middle school student to a company in their neighborhood. Maybe they select them to do a tour. How do we build and cultivate that future workforce?
Oh, it's a big challenge, but you're taking it head on. So I'm really loving this whole idea, and the companies who they need the workforce, they can get behind you by supporting the magazine. So could you give us an example if somebody had a connection to their local schools, which I often hear of manufacturers say, I work with the local schools because they want that connection, but how could they introduce Let's Go Aerospace?
Not only is that a great question, but there's an extra. So one of the things, when we started with the magazine, I got a lot of feedback, and we did our market research, and the feedback was, the magazine's great and you might inspire the kids, but how do we go from there? How do we keep them engaged in the aerospace community? And I said, what if we build a curriculum around Let's Go Aerospace magazine? So we have what's called the Manufacturing Awareness Program. As you are aware, we have a full production video studio here. And so what we've done is we've gone out, and instead of promoting a company via video, we're promoting and creating a video on a process. So our first one was 5-axis CNC routing. And we have a young lady who's studying to be an engineer, who is our spokesperson. And we go through the whole process, from the creation of a solid model to the machining process to CMM measurement and everything, and focus it. We're describing the acronyms. What does it mean to be a CNC? It's a computer numerical control. And so all of the things that a young person doesn't know right now and might inspire some interest. When are they ever going to see that? And when are they ever going to hear those terms and understand that advanced manufacturing process? So along with the content of the magazine, there will be a full page towards the back of the magazine describing our manufacturing awareness program with a QR code to those manufacturing videos. Now, on my website, I have a link that says manufacturing awareness, and there's a place where a teacher can actually apply, and they fill out an application. Mrs. Smith, and I teach the middle school class at XYZ Middle School. We have 22 students and an address and so forth. And if it's funded, then, and I approve it, then they become on a subscription list. And then I send that teacher, it's a quarterly magazine. So every quarter, they would say they have 22 students, 22 magazines would go to that teacher, and they would distribute to the kids. Then there's also a folder with a lesson plan teacher's guide and the link to the video so they can actually show the video, the process video in the classroom.
And this is fabulous that you actually have this at the classroom level. That's incredible with the teacher's guide on a quarterly basis. And so teachers can incorporate this into their, you
It's a
know,
supplemental curriculum. It's not going to be something they takes a quarter, but when a young person sees CNC Machining Center cutting chips, the robotic nature of a 5-axis CNC router or a machining center, or the sheet metal, laser cutting sheet metal, or composites manufacturing, electronics, all of these things that go into
wow.
aerospace manufacturing, we want to expose the kids and get their brains thinking about this is pretty cool stuff. And there's a lot of kids. I'm a big proponent of kids going to university and getting their engineering degree and that sort of thing, but that comes at a cost. And along with that, if what statistics there are is maybe as much as half of the students that graduate high school don't go on to university. And how do we excite them to get them into a trade where they have a good future career, a good income, and really can contribute to an industry that our country, we are the leaders. And in the Pacific Northwest, we're the leaders in new space technology and UAV, UAS, and commercial manufacturing and so forth. How do we inspire those kids to pursue that career and start at that level?
Dean, you used a really key word there, and that's inspire. And it seems like your whole approach to Let's Go Aerospace with posters on the wall, QR codes in the back, showing these processes, and then a teacher's guide so that the teacher can get involved in the process. This is really well thought out. And I'm imagining you've spent hours with AI trying to figure all this out.
Some AI, but mostly just a lot of background and history. One of the things that every kid nowadays has a smartphone. They all know they watch YouTube videos like crazy. We're trying to make sure that we're on that edge of the technology that they're pursuing. So throughout the magazine, every article has QR codes to videos. We have several pages we want them to be smarter than their parents. So
Ah,
we have Did You Know? And how many commercial flights per day are there worldwide? So there's an answer to that. There's a QR code answer to that. And you ask a parent and they're like, I don't know. And it's like, there's over 100,000 commercial flights per day around the world. Fun facts like that. And then we also introduce, I'm a big fan of STEM, but I'm also a big fan of STEAM, which adds art to the
yeah.
equation. And so in the magazine, we have a section where there's a finished image and then there's a partial image next to it. And the kids need to finish the image. So they learn how to draw an airplane or whatever it is that we're going to do in that particular issue.
It does remind me of that Highlights magazine. Yeah, that's wonderful. My goodness. And I'm thinking you must have a huge team helping you do this from the sounds of it.
We have a very talented, very educated team of people. There's 6 of us.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
and everyone has a specialty. Along with what we're doing, we're also, how do we support the industry? And my team is so gifted and talented. We've become somewhat of a very vertical marketing agency. So we're actually building websites. We manage social media accounts. We write white papers. And along with that, we're reaching out for article content in Northwest Aerospace News. Again, to your listeners, we're always looking for good Pacific Northwest manufacturers. We want to tell your story. So that Dean at Top Drawer Media, get a hold of me. We have typically 3 articles of manufacturers in every issue. And because we write about the manufacturers, step aside from Let's Go Aerospace for just a second, we've become somewhat of a sourcing guide. So people that, of my 11,000 subscribers, they're reading about companies they didn't know about,
That's right.
learning about resources they weren't aware of. If you go to my LinkedIn page, Top Drawer Media, Dean Cameron on my LinkedIn page, you'll see that Boeing gave me a testimonial that they're actually using Northwest Aerospace News Magazine as a sourcing guide. They're finding suppliers that they weren't aware of and actually signing contracts with people that they're learning about in the magazine, which I had to fight very hard to get them to let me use that testimonial, but I have authorization and approval.
Dean, I have to tell you, my experience with manufacturers, which has been incredible because of the quality of people, the intelligence, but they often like to just work in their shops. They're the kind of people they don't like to get out and network and be seen and have an article written about them. They're typically humble, hardworking people. And so I think your point that if you get out and meet people, if you get in the magazine, these getting attention right now from the market has nothing but benefit. There is such an upside.
I tell my team this on a regular basis too. Marketing and marketing expense and marketing resources to a manufacturer is about 14 rungs down on the ladder because I lived that dream. I get up in the morning and it's, oh my gosh, I got a customer that needs these parts shipped tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bob called in sick. We've got a machine broken. The raw material isn't here. You're fighting fires every day, and you're fighting fires to satisfy customers and to get invoices out the door. And so that's top priority. And so for someone to say, oh, we have to have that marketing meeting, unless they're a large enough company and they have a marketing department, those sorts of things fall behind, fall down
Yeah.
the ladder, as I mentioned. They know they're needed. And
Yeah.
recently we've written several new contracts with companies where we know the industry. So we'll be their marketing arm and help them with a fresh website and help them with their social media and make sure that they are seen.
That's wonderful. And Dean, that I have to tell you, that's something I didn't know about you and your team is that you offer those types of services. And I think that's marvelous for everybody to hear.
And I have to give kudos to my team. Let's step back to Let's Go Aerospace for a minute. Just this week, we were able to make the announcement that Let's Go Aerospace magazine won the coveted youth award with
Yes.
communications magazines. And amongst over 3,000 applicants, we took the youth award. So
Congratulations and kudos to you and your team that could qualify for that type of award. Amazing.
we listen, I help, but I really rely on the gifts and talents of my team. And I have a tendency to just step out of the way and let them do what they do best.
They're good at what they do.
Yep.
That's wonderful. Kudos to you and the team and the mission, the vision that you have here to really, and I have to credit your background, the fact that you were right in aerospace. You got to see these problems, but you did something about it, which we often see the problem. We don't always do something about it.
I tell people the story. Number one, in the manufacturing world, I loved our customers. And we, as a company, we'd bend over backwards to do whatever it took to make the customer happy. So there's that get up in the morning and firefight all day long. And we did that. I'd finish parts on a Thursday afternoon and put them as carry on an airplane, fly across the country and deliver them the next day because they needed those parts.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a love for the industry. You know, 28 and a half years in manufacturing and living the dream and getting the metal shavings on the bottoms of my shoes and on the whole 9 yards. So live the dream and I understand it.
It's wonderful where you're coming from. And if I could just mention Steve Kidd, he has been an inspiration and he's been a mentor, but somebody who just gives,
All the time.
loves the industry, calls me with ideas. And we had a little talk about the background for aerospace vendors. He saw the need for kind of what you're saying, and that is companies need to be discoverable.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a better place than aerospace vendors for people to show up and become discoverable.
So here comes the announcement I was going to tell you about. So our very first sponsored event is going to be the Manufacturing Suppliers Expo in Spokane, September 25th and 26th at the Runway for Event Center at Phelps Field. So people can fly in. It's a kind of a limited thing. We've got 24 booths available, 10 by 10 booths. I'll have a sheet on hotel reservations at a local hotel. We're not going to have a big fancy buffet line. There's no speakers. It's just all about introducing the buyers and the engineers to the manufacturers.
Wow.
And that event, I'll have information that I can send people. There's the Skyway Cafe, which is famous right next to the event center. So we'll have a brown bag lunch program that people can order their food and it'll be delivered to them at their booth. But we're keeping it simple, we're keeping it affordable. But as a part of it, as part of their booth registration fee, they will get a 1 year featured listing in Aerospace Vendors,
Wow.
which then also enables them to be in our Northwest Aerospace News resource guide, the December, January 2025 resource guide, which is it's a desk reference
Huge.
for engineers and buyers.
That's
But
right.
we're adding a new element to this as well.
Oh my goodness.
So I have been to a number of trade shows where you have to buy the little card reader in the back of your badge and everything, and it basically says Bob Smith from XYZ company, and that's really all the information. Aerospace Vendors is so complete. If they fill out their page complete, it has all of the relevant information about their company. Along with any featured listing in Aerospace Vendors, we are going to create a metal etched card that has a QR code to their Aerospace Vendors site and the ability to bookmark that page. If somebody goes by a booth and you now can scan that card, bookmark their page, and they don't have to do research. It's all right there. So,
Wonderful.
and
Wow.
then the good news on that is it's a permanent card, and they can take it to AIX, they can take it to the Paris Air Show, they can take it anywhere they want
Oh,
to.
how nice.
And as long as they have an Aerospace Vendors featured listing, then that QR code is live, and it gives them the ability to share their resources anywhere, anytime.
Dean, I don't know that everybody would know this. All of these new announcements and innovations are just amazing. And I love the card, but just being listed in Aerospace Vendors has what's called a search engine optimization
Yep,
advantage for these companies because
absolutely.
of the links that you have from their listing on your page back to their website. Plus, it acts as a salesperson.
Absolutely. And you can, so one of the things when we created it, it was when we updated it, it was during COVID. And there's so many Zoom calls and everything else. And what was the most common phrase? Well, put your LinkedIn in the Zoom
Yeah.
chat. Okay, so somebody goes to LinkedIn, they go, oh, okay, they work for XYZ company. Is
Yeah.
there a website somewhere? Kind of thing. And so with Aerospace Vendors, you have your own unique URL, it'd be Aerospace Vendors / XYZ company. And so now put that in the Zoom chat. When somebody clicks on that, it's all the information right in their lap.
Mhm.
And so you can put it as a bottom of your signature on an email. You can send it as a direct, you've got a prospect that you want to share your information with. You send it in an email. Please see this Aerospace Vendors link. And again, it's all of their relevant information and they get to keep it updated. Say they get AS 9100 Rev D, then you want to put that in your Aerospace Vendors link so that people know that you have that quality certification, or you have a new test data for some product that you manufacture. There's a document section where you can upload documents.
Wow.
So we want to be able to create that tool that really gives people the opportunity to share their business with the industry.
What I love about that is a lot of times if you're talking to a salesperson, you feel that arm twisting, just pressure, even if you don't
Yeah,
mean for there to be pressure. But if I can go to your Aerospace Vendors page and
right.
just look at it, search it through, but it's got everything I need there and it's telling me what I need to know, then I can make the decision without the pressure. And
Exactly.
and that's
In
why
a,
I really
in a
advocate.
world where efficiency matters, you don't have to ask them to do 20 minutes worth of research to figure out what it is that you do.
Yes.
Boom, it's right there. And if there's a need, then there's several ways on the site for them to follow up. And it's also a managed deal. So if somebody, unbeknownst to me, creates a page that's not relevant to the industry, then it can be reported. I really want to keep it clean. It's all about aerospace. We don't need a Bob's Burger Barn at the airport.
Yeah. The fact how that plays together with your resource guide, which you mentioned is a desktop reference for buyers and engineers, you've done something really special, I think, for the whole aerospace industry. And the aerospace industry is very huge. I think it's only getting bigger.
Oh
Uh,
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah. New space technology, the satellite companies that are cropping up left and right. I tell people it's like drinking through a fire hose trying to keep up with new technology and new developments in UAV, UAS, and new space technology and commercial and military aircraft and all of the above. And we cover all of it. But if you're not paying attention, you're going to one of these days go, holy cow, when did that happen?
I find that all the time, and I'm actually trying to keep up with it. So
Yeah,
I use your magazine. I use your LinkedIn. Yeah, to stay informed, it is a massive job. And I think there's so many wonderful, smart people out there trying to make everything better for us. I love this world that we're in, and I love that you're at the really forefront of telling us about it.
We're doing our best. We write about companies that have 10 employees that are exceptional at what they do. And we write about some companies that have hundreds of employees that are exceptional at what they do. They're all Pacific Northwest contributors to the aerospace industry. I have people from all around the world asking me to write content about their company. And while we have advertisers worldwide, I want to keep it Pacific Northwest based. There's over the United States Department of Commerce states that there are over 2,000 companies in the Pacific Northwest that label themselves aerospace manufacturers.
Wow.
I won't live long enough to write about all of them.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. Here at the Center for Advanced Manufacturing, we're the same way. That is, we're focused on Washington State. We're trying to really strengthen the companies that are here through connections.
Right.
And we have programs that I like yours because you're publishing and you're putting information out in front of people. We do that on set, maybe a much more limited way with events and things that we do. We have a program for helping our members tell advertise their jobs and stuff like that. But what you're doing with Let's Go Aerospace is getting right into the classroom, right with the teacher. And then when you mentioned that you're doing articles on companies with 10 people or maybe hundreds of people, but they're Northwest focused, there's just nothing else like it, Dean. You've really created something special.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely a passion, but not only for me, for the rest of our team. We're the whole group. We're so excited to help these companies, and we get feedback from them as well that they found a job or somebody contacted them or Let's Go Aerospace. There's a testimonial. My wife, she has a job helping seniors, and
Ah,
she, as part of her job called Visiting Angels, she has a coworker that has teenage son, and so she delivered some Let's Go Aerospace magazines to give to her son. A month or so later, this gal came back and said, Pam, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden his grades are better. He's got a different attitude, and now he says he wants
oh,
to be an engineer. And it's ching. I
yeah,
mean,
inspired.
that's why
Yeah,
we do what we do.
inspired with purpose and probably a
Yep.
poster or two on the wall.
Yeah.
No, that's very inspiring with aerospace, space, and satellites. Can I just mention that one of the services you've surprised me with the cool things you're doing for marketing and promotion, but one
Mhm.
of them I understand is drone photography.
Yes, we have what's called Skyscan Technologies, and we have two state-of-the-art drones. We were very fortunate when these drones, they're called Skydio 2 Plus, they were offered to the general population, and we bought two of them. Then they stopped selling them to the general population and only sell them to the military and commercial now.
My goodness.
So these are just state-of-the-art keyframe programmable drones, and we do factory tour videos that we align with our advertising marketing packages and our advertising. We are currently doing a really large real estate program right now. It's the aerospace
Yeah.
industry. Yeah. And so we love doing the drone photography. We can incorporate it with social media, a series of social media videos. The sky, turn a pun, the sky's the limit.
Sky is the limit, isn't it? By hearing what you're up to, Dean, I'm hoping that people listening to this are getting inspired with, oh, yeah, there are opportunities for drone photography
Yep.
or promotion that could make a really big difference in even how people are perceived. And I just think for marketing or promotion purposes, or if they're going to a conference or they've got a special product launch, listening to you talk about aerospace vendors and the Northwest Aerospace News, what you're doing with the kids, I think that manufacturers do want to participate. They want to bring out the very best of what they have. But, and you talk about your smart team. I cannot believe the smart teams of the companies that we work with.
Yeah.
And so when they can get inspired with jumping on board with your mission, I just think that you've really started something
I
that we can all
appreciate it,
get
Kurt.
excited about.
I do want to say, in relation to the drone technology, we are Part 107 licensed, and we do an FAA check to make sure that the where we're flying is in unrestricted space. And there are folks out there that do drone work that aren't, and you can get in some serious trouble, both as the company hiring them and the people flying the drones. So
Mm.
you want to make sure you're following the rules, because the rules keep getting tighter, and they're able to now, with each drone has to have a serial number and be trackable. It's got to be careful.
And as a matter of fact, I'm glad you mentioned that because people do think I'm just going to go buy a drone and do something, but it's not quite that simple. And there are regulations, there are implications. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been so good, Dean. I think that businesses need to know that they can contribute to the Let's Go Aerospace magazine. You're looking for what do companies spend to help promote that effort?
It just depends on the company. We've had some companies order 100 magazines and deliver them to the local school. We've had some that have ordered more than that. We've had opportunities to do custom covers, which my printer has a minimum custom run of 1,000 of something.
Okay.
So the content of the magazine is the same, but the cover is unique. And if somebody had a mindset to go into a region, a school district or something, then we can create a custom cover that shares that company's information. This issue is supported by XYZ machine shop or whoever it is. And so we're freewheeling. We're a small company, so we'll work with you and
And I wanted to
whatever.
know how accessible that was, and the fact
Yeah.
that if they've got one or two local high schools nearby,
Yep.
and if they want to work with a teacher, or if they want to work with the school district itself, they could come up with 100 or 200 or 1,000 magazines and
Yep.
deliver them, have those covers custom made.
If they go to letsgoaerospace.com and just all spelled out, you'll see that there's a page on there where there's different levels that they can sponsor. And those are individuals. So if you want to buy 500 magazines or 200 magazines or whatever it is, there's a page where they can do that. They can actually just pay for it online. But if they wanted to do subscriptions or a larger program, those are custom, and I would urge them to contact me, and we would set something up with whether it's a classroom or several classrooms to make sure that they get the magazines on a quarterly basis. And of course, we offer discounts on things for different programs. We want to make it accessible.
I love what the magazine does in terms of inspiring the children, posters on the wall and puzzles for them to finish. But the idea that you've had testimonials from
Yeah.
people who have gotten excited and felt like they've gotten a focus, I think that's everything.
Again, 28 and a half years in the trenches doing the manufacturing. Aerospace has been very good to me. I'm a big fan of the whole industry. And this is an opportunity for us to maybe have a small part in helping make it a little bit stronger.
One of the things that when I took over the leadership of camps, it was drummed into me that we want to create practical programs that not theoretical programs, but practical programs that actually make a difference. And that's something I'm very proud of for camps. But I have to say, more of the same for you, Dean. Everything you're doing is very practical. Everything you're doing is really on the ground, something useful, helpful to the engineers, to the buyers, from a promotional standpoint, to the owners of the companies, to the kids. It's just crazy cool how practical.
Well, and it's a la carte too. There's no formula that's perfect for everybody. If company does X doesn't work, but Y does, then we're happy to help them with Y.
Absolutely. I love the flexibility, the adaptability, just such an intelligent design. Congratulations again on your award
Oh,
for
thank
this
you.
space. I think that is very special. And your announcement about the upcoming conference, which is there anything that they'll want to know preparing for this? So camps will promote it. We'll promote this video talking about it. But is there anything special you'd like them to know about the
We have a save the date flyer that I sent out. It's on my social media page on LinkedIn. So there's some basics on there. And we're going to create, we're big fans of modern technology. So we're creating, there'll be a link on the website. It's being worked on right now. And then there's also a page that we'll send out with QR codes and direct links and so forth for people to respond. But if they have questions or, hey, want to reserve a spot and commit to something, dean@topdrawermedia.com. Reach out to me and I'm happy to answer any questions. With our reach with the magazine, again, as sharing the suppliers to the buyers and the engineers, our goal it's going to be somewhat of exclusive. We only have 24 booths. We want to make sure that it's manufacturers. I'm not literally not going to sell a booth. Sorry, guys, that if you're members of camps and hear this, no insurance companies. This is all about manufacturing.
manufacturing.
And
Well, I've
so we want to make sure that we reach out to our audience and have the buyers and the engineers there talking to the manufacturers and creating those relationships. So that's the goal of this particular expo.
Dean, I have to thank you because I feel like you've given us early access. And there are those types of manufacturers, and you've met them, but they like to be first. They like to be,
Yeah,
they get into the trends, they get into the technology early,
right.
and they reap the benefits of that. And I feel like those who go to this conference with you are the ones who are going to reap the benefits.
And we, again, we want to make it fun. So it's at Phelps Field. So it's a converted hangar event center out at Phelps Field. Hey, if you've got a private plane, you want to fly in,
Oh,
and if my memory serves me right, there'll be a couple of antique aircraft floating around.
nice.
And again, it's try to make this as fun yet productive as possible.
Dane, anything you do seems to have a stamp of excellence, which we've just come to expect from you, and I'm sure this event will be no different. So, Dean, thank you for your time today. This has been marvelous.
Oh, Kirk, thank you for the opportunity. Happy to share with your members. And if there's anything specific, we obviously camps is in. We have an ad in each of the
Yes,
magazines.
thank you for that.
Yeah, happy to do that. And anything that we can do to help promote camps, please feel free to reach out because you guys have a wonderful organization that again is growing by leaps and bounds, and there's always a reason why for that.
Yes, and I think you and I share the same purpose and passion of help strengthening manufacturing here in the Northwest
Yep.
and making this the best place for people to live and to work.
Yeah, and the aerospace industry offers competitive wages and benefits and can create those careers, which
Yeah.
is what people are looking for.
One thing we talk about is manufacturing careers, and
Yep.
I meet so many people that've got 25, 30 years in manufacturing. And you mentioned the 2000 aerospace companies. And I understand we have about 6,000 manufacturers in the state of Washington, with about 3,000 of them here on the west side. And manufacturing is a beautiful, wonderful place to build a career. And when I talk to people who are at Blue Origin or other Boeing and other places where people aspire to work, they just say, "Man, I got my start at a small shop, but then this opportunity." So it's something we see over and over again. Is just opportunities for people.
Absolutely.
Dean, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kirk. Have yourself a wonderful day, and thank you to all your members.
Yeah, thank you.